Hello, everyone. If you could all just let me know in the chat whether you can see and hear me, and then we'll get started. There's a slight delay uh, on the video, I think. So if you could just let me know in the chat. If you just introduce yourself, tell me your name, I'll give you a wave, and then we'll get stuck in. Could be a slow chat this evening. My name's Duncan, by the way, but I'll introduce myself in a sec. Oh, hello, Robert. I'm guessing you can hear and see me. So, anybody else in the chat? It might be a bit of a slow chat tonight, so I'll keep an eye on it. But let's get stuck in. So let me just get my little slideshow up. Got some more people in the chat. Oh yes, cheers, Robert. Thank you for letting me know you can hear and see me. Right, well, let's get stuck in, shall we? Welcome to the Plus EV Golf Pro live Q&A. My name's Duncan, and I'm your host for this evening. I'll introduce you to the golf betting star of the show, Ian O'Sullivan, in just a moment. First, I want to hammer home what a unique, even controversial evening you're in for. Because after a few minutes of talking to Ian, like me, you too will probably have to forget everything you know about golf betting. That's because, in the words of Star Trek Spock, it's golf betting, Jim, but not as we know it. Just give me one sec. Sorry, lots of technical difficulties this evening, which is good. Sorry about this. Sorry, everyone. Just 1 second there. All right, sorry. So, despite bucking every golf betting trend going, Ian's golf war approach, and you'll see why we're calling it that in a moment, has made an independently verified 29% ROI over 2 years. And unlike just about every other golf approach out there, that's 100% on the Betfair exchange, which also means it can be and is 100% automated. Tonight, we'll cover 3 problems with normal golf betting that Ian's approach fixes. We'll go over his independently verified track record of 29% ROI, plus why profits could be even better going forward. And then I'll bring Ian on so you can ask him all your questions about his unique approach to golf betting. And then after that, we'll give you the chance to be one of the founding members of his new BetChat-backed tipping service, Plus EV Golf Pro. This includes being able to get your first month for just £1. And we expect the service to start with a profitable bang because the Open Championship starts on July 16th, which is this Sunday. So let's get stuck in. Normal golf betting can be very lucrative, but faces 3 big problems. So let's look at each of those problems and how Ian's approach fixes them. Problem number 1. There's long waits between winners. Most golf services subscribe to the small stakes, big odds mentality, which can definitely work, but comes with a big caveat. You can go weeks, months, even years if you're really unlucky without a winner. That's hard on the nerves, especially if you're paying for your golf tips. Ian's approach fixes this. Rather than relying on big odds winners, he goes for volume. And he does that by not betting on one golfer to win a specific event, but 20 or even 30 golfers. He talks about it like it's a war of golfers. You've got one team going to war with an enemy team, and you hope that one of your team wins. So this means you're not reliant on one long shot golfer to win, but just any member of your golf team. This also means it's actually exciting to watch events because you're likely to still have at least one golfer battling to near the end. So problem number 2 with traditional golf betting is golf betting flags you up to the bookies really quickly. When you bet on a niche market like golf, and especially win at it, this can flag you up to the bookies really fast. Therefore, getting your accounts restricted. And what good is a 200 to 1 winner if you can only get 20p on it? Not a lot of good, I'd say. Ian's approach fixes this by being 100% on the Betfair exchange. You can place every single one of his bets on the Betfair exchange. This is impossible with most golf services because they often rely on bookies' generous odds on outliers to make a profit. Again, with Ian's approach, he's banking on volume, and he's found a way to make that profitable with the prices on Betfair, which we'll ask him about in a minute. Again, to the tune of a 29% ROI over the last few years. So problem number 3 with traditional golf betting is it's time consuming and boring to place all the bets yourself. And really, this is a problem with most betting approaches, not just normal golf betting. It's time consuming to put on lots of bets every day. It could also potentially be a problem with Ian's approach because, as I say, he's betting on teams of golfers. So you've got large volumes of bets, except it's not a problem because his approach can be 100% automated. Because Ian's strategy is 100% on Betfair Exchange, he's been able to build a betting bot to put on all the bets for him. And of course, members of his new BetChat published service, plus EV Golf Pro, get access to this bot as well. So if you were thinking, I haven't got time to put on 20 to 30 bets on a team of golfers every week, you don't need to worry about that because the bot will do it for you. So that's how Ian's approach fixes the three big problems with traditional golf betting. Now let's have a quick look at his track record to see if it's actually profitable, which, as I've already said, it is. This is actually an independently verified track record taken from a deep dive Smart Betting Club did on Ian's Plus EV Golf service, not the pro version he's doing with BetChat, which has a few improvements, which we'll talk about. Smart Betting Club found Ian's approach generated a 31% ROI in 2021 and a 24% ROI in 2022 for a total ROI of 29%, which is really impressive. To put that in perspective, over the same 2-year period, the American stock market, which is called the S&P 500, returned just 3.23%. In other words, Ian's tips outperformed stocks more than 9 times over. Smart Betting Club also found that the likelihood of a losing year with Ian's approach was about 1 in 10, so not very likely at all. They concluded really strong, an excellent option for Betfair Exchange bettors and bookmaker bettors alike, a clear edge in the golfing market, major Hall of Fame potential. And they're not the only reviewers impressed with Ian's approach. Honest Betting Reviews tested Ian's tips over 15 months. They grew their bank 52% and gave him 4.5 stars out of 5. They concluded, overall, though, it's been an excellent trial, and with over 400 points profit, it's a definite passed rating, which is very good stuff. And Ian's new BetChat backed service, aptly named Plus EV Golf Pro, could see things get even better. That's because he's including 2 more kinds of bets, 72-hole match bets and 3-ball bets, which could help smooth out variance and boost profits even higher. And we can ask Ian about that now. So Ian, are you there? And we can launch into some questions for you. If I just shut down my... Hello.
Okay.
Did you like me muddling through the technical difficulties there? Sorry, if everyone. Some of our web pages are just, they're not loading properly. So how are you this evening?
Good,
You
yourself?
okay?
All good?
Yeah, a bit flustered now, but okay. So could everyone just in the chat just let me know if they can hear and see Ian, and then we'll get started. And if you have any questions already about Ian's approach, we're going to talk about his background, how he got into betting, that kind of thing. But any questions you have, just stick them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them for you. So Ian, to get started, could you just give us a little background of your... Oh, cool. Everyone can see you. Paul can see you. Hello, John. Hello, Paul. Haven't said hello to you guys. Yeah, could you just give everyone a bit of a background, a bit of info about your background in betting? How did you get into it? I understand that you've worked for Paddy Power and Betfair.
Yeah, so I started in the industry in 2006. And I initially started with MacBook, which is the big betting exchange. But when I started, it was only 4 or 5 of us in the Cork office. I was there for about 10 months or so, and then I went to Paddy Power in 2007. There for 5 years, and then I went to Betfair, I set up a sports book in 2012. I was there for another 2 years. So that was kind of the majority of my betting experience, over those years.
So you've been around quite a few of the big bookmakers then. So what was your main role in those places?
Well, I initially started when in Matchbook. We would have just been trading US sports, kind of following Pinnacle's prices and seeding the markets and stuff like that. It wasn't my niche area of expertise. At the time, I was a big football fan, so I got a job in Paddy Power as a football trader initially. So you go in initially as you have an expertise in some area, but then you end up kind of moving into other areas. So over time, you end up loving all sports really after a while.
So you were pricing up markets and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Pricing up markets, taking bets, request the bet. It was very different. You have to remember 2007, 2008 was a very different world. Betting world than it is now, like Paddy Power is not the same company that it was 2008, completely different. So things have changed a lot, so there's less pricing now. It's a lot more automated, a lot more driven by quant guys just doing all the pricing through algorithms and stuff. Whereas back then it was more not paper and pen, but like it was a bit more art and a bit of science as well.
Do you think that gives you an edge now being on the outside of the industry?
Yeah, I think so, because a lot of the pricing now is very homogeneous, as it's very the same. It's very, like, if you look at some of like very liquid markets, a lot of the pricing will be the same, because they're using either the same algorithm or the same white label that's kind of feeding in their pricing. So whereas before, firms took more opinions on stuff because they had guys pricing it week to week or day to day, So a good example would have been, people would have. There was a time when people would have priced Premier League, right? And they would have got into an office, 4 or 5 traders. They would all give them their own opinion on the price. And they could take an average or whatever of the traders, Whereas no, that just doesn't happen really, So it's a different world, really,
Yeah, when we talk about your strategy, because that's something you said to me was you're using. There's an automated part to it. There's the bot. You're using a lot of data, but you've got a system, but then you've got that human kind of analysis applied on top of that as well. But we can maybe get into that in a minute. So how about your history as like a bettor on the outside of the industry and as a tipster, because you've been doing that for a while now?
Yeah, so I mean, I left the industry in 2000 and what year was it? I had a stint in BetBright. They're no longer with us. They got taken over, but I was with them at the end, and that was in 2015 time. So I left the industry. I left working as a trader as such then, and I was punting myself and doing tips. Being a tipster along those for the last 8 years.
Yeah, and so you were running a service called Plus EV Golf, right?
Yeah. So for the last 3 years, say 2019 to 2022, it was with Plus EV Golf. Yeah, with a chap called Neil MacDonald who runs a football service which is pretty successful. So it was kind of the two of us in conjunction, and we ran that for like 3 years, and we just kind of went our separate ways at the start of the year. So there was no bad blood or anything like that, but it was just we just kind of went our separate ways, So, but that was a very successful 3 years. So, and before that, I had stints with. I initially went out with Smart Betting Club back in 2016, and I had a service for about a year. So that went well. But what happens is, and this is not a criticism of the industry, that but like what they do is you have to prove to them for a year right?
Mm.
But if that period is really successful, they'll take you on board, right? And what can happen inevitably is that when you go live, it's a bit choppy or it's break even. So but that's just a part of the process of betting on golf as well. Where there's going to be years where you're just treading water. So I suppose I have all that kind of history behind me now. So it was a bit different then. Whereas now I have all that history. I have those years where maybe break even, but I have all those periods where it was through the roof or whatever.
Yeah, you've got the date. You've got the data
Yeah.
now to show the long term kind of what your strategy is long term. So your strategy, could you just give people like your bird's eye view of it? Because to me, like I kind of tried to say in the intro, it was really different to other golf betting approaches, where it's usually my experience of golf betting is like you're losing a lot and you're trying to just get that 100 to 1 winner, 200 to 1 winner that makes up for the 10 losses you've had. But your approach is really, really different. And also, I don't think you could do your approach without a bot or something. Could you? It would just be too many bets?
You could do it. I mean, it's actually not as time to do it manually. Isn't as time consuming. Well, just for the winner market, it wouldn't be that time consuming really. But I think what people struggle with is the concept of placing 30 bets on 30 golfers in one market. It's completely different.
Yeah. So can you just say like why? Yeah. So what is your approach broadly, and why? Why do you approach it like that?
So the reality of betting win only on the exchange, right, is that you have 160 golfers, only one can win. So we've got 159 losers, right? So I mean, the smallest price on average is the favorite most golf tournaments on the exchange is probably going to average 16, 20 to 1, right? So if you're only backing 3 guys at 20 to 1, like you're getting, it's a 7 to 1 shot or whatever, Now, you've only got 2 tournaments a week. So if you're backing the top 3 in the betting, we'll say, right, that's essentially a 7 to 1 shot. If you're replacing 7 to 1 bets a week, you could literally go 2 years without getting a winner, right? That's not fun. That's not fun for anyone, even if you have an edge. Do you know what I mean? So you have to weigh up. You have to reduce the variance, right? So to reduce the variance, we have to give ourselves a better chance of winning. And to do that, we have to, include more golfers, basically. So when you back 20 or 30 guys at all different prices, ranging from 20 to 1 up to 200 to 1. The cumulative probability comes in at around 40% or 45 or whatever. So it's like betting a football match, a home team in a football match. It's the same. It's like a Dutch price basically.
I think that's the really interesting thing, because if you look at the individuals, if you look at the strike rate of the individual bets, it's very low. But when you look at it in the context of your approach and you understand you're betting, you've got your team. You're betting on your team to win this tournament, and you really just need one of them. And the strike rate of one member of your team winning, like you say, is 40% and above, which is really high for golf.
Yeah. Exactly. You can make it into a scenario where you're betting, and you've got a 60% chance of winning. It just depends. It depends on what selections the model throws up as value. So it's going to vary week to week, but in general, it's going to be in around that 40% ish mark, on average.
And you approach it sort of tournament by tournament as well. That's how you think about it, kind of.
And just so people don't think I'm plucking these selections out of thin air or anything like the selections, I price up the events each week. I generate my own prices for what I think McIlroy is or whatever. So every Monday. So and it's just a comparison then with the Betfair Exchange. So
and are you doing that?
Him, there's a real science to it, So.
And how could you just tell people a bit how you go about pricing? Are you doing that like you would have done when you were at a bookmaker?
Yeah. I mean, when you work in betting trading rooms, you learn how to price all sports really, and how bookmaker. I mean, how prices are priced on every sport. You know, I mean, people have this concept that, oh, he shouldn't be 10-1. Why is he 10-1? That's a ridiculous price. But when you actually, I know why he's 10-1, because if the way the bookmakers price the markets, and how they do it. But everyone will throw their own kind of spin on certain things where they undervalue something else, or I might rate current form more strongly than longer term form. So, but to get a kind of a base price, the bookmakers know how to price things accurately. Like, I mean, so I kind of do it the same way, but I have my own little magic inside it.
Yeah, and you're doing that for everybody in a tournament.
Yeah. So every like, I mean, so it's driven. It's just like a computer program. So you're feeding in data. You're running. It's a simulation, basically. That's what it is. So you're rating the golfers, right, based on certain criteria, and then you just run the model, the program, and then that generates probabilities of winning the tournament. So basically, what it does is it simulates the event like a couple 100,000 times, right?
All right. Okay. Wow.
For every different scenario, there's going to be a different winner. You know what I mean? So for today, there's the Scottish Open is on this week, right? We'll get a winner, but if they play the tournament again next week, you're going to get a different winner. You know what I mean? So it's when you run that kind of scenario a million times, it kind of generates probabilities of how much you predict them to win, essentially.
And because you're betting on a team of golfers, you're taking advantage of some more of those different probabilities than someone who's trying to get the one.
Exactly. I mean, you get, I suppose the team of golf is, you might get my model might say one guy's 40-1, right? And the Betfair exchange might be 60-1. So it's actually quite a minute difference in probability terms. But those little minute differences can add up to a lot over time, So golf is one of those sports where people do take an opinion a little bit more than other sports, So there will always be opportunity.
If anybody's got any questions, if you want to just start popping them in the chat, and I'll ask Ian them. A couple of things I want to ask you about as well is, one is how the bot works, or how you use tools to aid you in your betting would be quite interesting. But also, like, how do you deal with losses? How do you deal with losing months, weeks, years, that kind of thing?
It's not easy. Like, I'm not, we're not like, it's, there's a reality here as well. Like, that there's going to be times where it's, treading water, or, you're slightly down. It's, we're losing, we're getting unlucky or whatever, and that's just part of the process. That's part of the journey, So if you accept that and you trust the process, you have to just trust the process in gambling, really, because the hardest part with it really is the mental side. You get up and go again the following week, and get up the following day and do the same thing. It's easy to throw the towel in and say, oh, this isn't working. So you just have to, it's a challenge. It is a challenge, for sure. But I mean, if you have the right, trust the process and not get overly emotional by watching, like, not so much golf, but if you are a horse racing punter, sometimes it's better to just check the result. Don't watch it. Just don't watch it, because you'll only tear yourself up in knots, So a lot of people, I have a couple of clients that are from Scandinavia, and they wouldn't watch it at all. Like, they just check the result. It's just a way of making money for them, So
I was going to ask.
We're a bit more emotional than people in Scandinavia, but like, it's a good way of looking at it,
So for you, is it like part passion, part sort of? Do you see it as like an investment, like somebody investing in stocks, that kind of thing, and growing your money over the long term? Or?
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. I mean, if you look at any stock, S&P 500 over 20 years, it's the trend is good. We all know we're going to make money in the stock exchange, but there are times where it's just plateauing. You're just going to have to turn through those times because it will go up. It has always gone up. So while betting is obviously different. If you believe, I do believe in the process, and I have the data done and all the the analysis done. So it's just you just got to keep doing it week to week.
Yeah, and I think that's
it is a hobby as well. Like so, as part of it, I do enjoy it.
I guess if you've worked in the industry, for years, there's got to be some passion there, I guess, too. Definitely.
Exactly, and it's nothing better.
I think when
just have it's a bit of a drug that way. You just get used to you're on a Sunday night. If it goes your way, it's a great feeling. And obviously, the flip side is that it's not so great if it goes. But again, with this strategy, you're always going to be involved in every week. Rarely do you you're always going to have guys in the mix.
Yeah, and that 40% strike rate for your team is high, so you're not waiting for the buzz of a winner, I guess, as well.
No.
When you think of your approach, like I said in the intro, like making 29% over 2 years, versus it's been a pretty bad 2 years for stocks, anyway. But even the average, I think, is 8% per year when you take everything into account. So your approach has done 15% over the last 2 years from the Smart Betting Club kind of deep dive. So it's really attractive for people that are thinking about growing their wealth, especially now, like with so much crazy stuff going on. But so yeah,
I mean, a lot of people out there like golf, that will have, we'll say they're of a demographic, they're a bit older. They play golf a lot. They have a bit more disposable cash, but they don't want to place all the bets. But they like maybe investment where, all right, there's this guy, he's doing all the geeky stuff, and I just flick on the phone on a Sunday, we have McIlroy or whoever, and I'm after making a couple of hundred, or pays for my fees over the year or whatever, So there's definitely, it should appeal to a lot of people, It's not because, as you say, the traditional form is I back 3 or 4 guys each way. You check your phone on a Thursday, you scroll in the leaderboard, we're done and dusted by Thursday lunchtime. Okay, off in the week. So there's a bit of a deflation there. Whereas with this, you're going to be in it at least to the weekend every single week. It's just because of the probability, So people are just going to enjoy it. They're going to enjoy it much more,
Yeah, that's what one of the other tipsters that follows you was saying. It's exciting to watch golf because the chances are a lot of the time you have 2 members of the team the golf team you're betting on end up maybe in the last 2 golfers in a tournament or whatever. So you can kind of win either way. So it's much more engaging if you are into betting on golf and watching it. So do you have a lot of clients? Do you bet on behalf of people, or
I would. I'd have 2 services currently, where one is focused on the exchange stuff, and then I have other guys that just follow my each way, the more traditional form, But more people are coming across to the exchange stuff now, because of restrictions, around, especially in the UK where they're asking for documents for this, well checks and stuff. So
it's becoming more stringent, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, people just like the concept of having your money in one account, and I just do my betting there. I don't have to be praying that I get a withdrawal from Costa Rica or whatever, So, but it's early days.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I was just going to say, but that's a huge problem that comes up in these Q&As all the time. Is people not being able to get bets on having restricted accounts. So it's worth just, and I've got a couple of questions in the chat which I'll pitch to you in a sec, but it's worth just talking about this being 100% on Betfair.
Yeah.
And automated as well. So are you a programmer? Are you able to build bots and that kind of thing? Or did you just, you had this approach and then you found somebody?
What happened was, I got a new client in January, Miles. I didn't know him at the time, and he just followed my stuff for a while, and then he just contacted me saying that he had this bot that you could place, I could do my service through his bot essentially, and people could just get it fully automated, So that appealed to me. Because previously there was a company, Bet Markets, that were putting forward this concept of a bit of an eToro type thing where people, would bet on just copying,
like follow people.
Yeah. So that's the concept. So people don't. I can do all within the bot. I place the bets on my account as well. So whatever other people are getting, I'm doing it as well. Depending on what bank size they use and stuff like that. So there's a couple of technical things around that, but it's very seamless and it worked. There was no issues, So for 3 months we kind of trial run it. Well, obviously you said some of the guys that you talked to previously had it done for them.
Yeah.
And it was more we were just kind of testing the waters really in terms of liquidity and what gets matched, how long it takes, the workload on me and stuff like that. So, and the results were good for the last 3 months. So, so I said I'd go with it, going forward, and we just do another with the golf full time with it,
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference from the customer, the bettor's perspective, because it's so easy. It just turns it into you can just sort of put money in and forget about it, or you can watch the games as well, I guess, or watch the matches. I want to talk to you about tournaments as well, but I'm just going to ask you a couple of the questions we've had in the chat, and if anybody else has got any questions, just chuck them in the chat. So the first so I got a question from Brian. He asks, what would be a reasonable bank size to start with?
Bigger the better. But obviously, that's just being silly. Honestly, it depends where you are in your journey in betting. I mean, because we're betting solely on the Betfair exchange, I'd assume that a lot of people have kind of gotten restricted, or they're not novices essentially. So I mean, ideally, if you could start with 2 or 3 grand in around that mark, it's doable at lower levels, but something around that would be.
Yeah, it's worth. Yeah, we have some sort of lower staking levels for the BetChat service, so it's definitely doable. But yeah, like I guess like anything, you want to ramp up with when you feel confident, don't you? After a while.
I mean, because golf, as I say, there's only 2 tournaments a week. There's a lot of time we're not betting, so you're not turning over your money. So, and to make money, you need to turn over money. So, you kind of it has to be at a certain level essentially. But that's where the 2 or 3 balls would come in. That would give us a bit more turnover, So, I think 2,000 or 3,000, but ideally, if you can go 5 or 8, even better, But it is possible to start slow and build it up for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, Paul has just asked about the 3-ball bets. So there's a couple of, is it 72 hole and 3-ball bets? Could you just tell me if I've got them wrong, but could you explain to people what they are and why you're kind of introducing them?
So 72 hole match bets are an player versus player propositions, right? Where it's played over the 4 rounds. So whoever finishes higher over the 4 rounds. And there's no tie in that, so it's a dead heat if they tie. The 2 and 3 balls in are like they get priced up on a Wednesday, for the first round, the second round. Whoever's playing the same group essentially. So a good analogy would be they'd be like a football match in pricing terms, You get your even money.
Right. Okay.
That kind of pricing, 9 to 4. The average price would be about 6 to 4, 7 to 4-ish,
So it's not high odd stuff. So it's just kind of
no.
Maybe more. It's more predictable, maybe as well. Or
predictable. You'll get more winners, but we're betting at lower prices, so it's not easy.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, you get these flashy like the big thing about people when they're trying to with golf is that they go, oh, he made 100% ROI last year. That's great. Like, what about the rest of the years? You know, whereas now we kind of think like we're football better. You know, where it's small enough margins, but I bet we're trying to get the volume up. Like, so, for example, once we get into the proper swing of it, you mean we could be betting on 20 or 33 balls over the weekend, you know. So you might have 4 on Thursday, 5 on Friday, and it accumulates up over the week, you know. So you get the turnover up that way, you know.
And does that reduce the volatility of?
Yeah, it should do
of the track record, basically.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. You will, like when you look at the volume or the over the year, we'll actually turn over more money on the 3 balls just because there's more events to bet on, essentially, you know. Like every winner market is just one bet, except we're having a lot more on it per bet. Do you know what I mean? Because it's our team versus the other team. Do you know what I mean? Whereas on a 3 ball, I've one guy against the other 2, but I can do that 20 or 30 times over the weekend. You know, so
and maybe that if it does help smooth out like variance and stuff, maybe that helps the emotional kind of side of betting as well.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing with that is that you won't be able to keep track of all the 3 balls because there could be times where I might have 6 or 7 on. You might be gone to work, or you'll just be checking your account that night. Do you know what I mean? So you won't be emotionally involved all the time. You know.
So we've got a couple more questions. One is, do you currently supply the golf bets to WeBetUBet service, and are the Plus EV golf bets going to be different? That's from Peter.
So the bets, anything that we've done through WeBetUBet for the last couple of months will be pretty much the same thing for the new service. Yeah, at bigger volume, I think slightly bigger stakes, you know.
So if you are on WeBetUBet, I guess you might want to join this new service if you just wanted to be betting on the golf, I guess.
I think so. But
you'd be doubling up.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but I mean, I think if anyone wants to come over, I don't think it'd be a problem.
Yeah, and maybe if Peter, if you want to email us at clients at the bet chat, and then we can break it down for you in an email, so it's a bit clearer. So Michael's asked, and I think this is an interesting question actually, because Michael's asked, how many points do you recommend for the bank? And actually, from what we talked about, it doesn't actually make sense to talk about points. Really, it makes more sense to talk about how much of the bank you're risking on each tournament. Is that right?
Yeah.
Could you just talk people through that a bit?
Yeah, I know we had a discussion about this. Personally, I just think it works in my head better like this. So, I mean, think of it in terms of for every tournament, we're going to risk a certain percentage your bankroll on that tournament. Right? So whether you start with 1,000 or 10,000, we say the maximum is going to be 3 or 4%. We'll say, right? So that's the maximum that you can lose on that tournament. You know, so if you start off with 1,000 quid. That's your bank. We'd say 4% of that is whatever, 40 quid. That's going to be the stick for that tournament for you.
And that's spread. That's sorry to interrupt, but that 40 quid is spread across your team of golfers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So worst case scenario is you lose 40 quid of your 1,000 euros. You know, so that'd be 40 quid for each tournament. Now for the 2 and 3 balls and stuff, the stakes won't be as high because they'll be a little bit lower, all right? Yeah, you know, because we're betting on. There's a lot more selections in play, so it'll be somewhere 1 or 2%, you know. But again, it's all low risk, like so. And the plan is to kind of break people in easy. So we're gonna build people up, you know, do the outright market. Do a couple of 3 balls one week, and then the following week we might do 4, 5, 6, you know what I mean? So people can get a proper feel for it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I just had with the 3, so I think when you're thinking about the strike rate of your team of golfers, that's when that, risking the 3 to 4% of your bank makes sense to me, because I guess it would, if you're using the strike rate of individual bets, it might make more sense to talk about a point bank.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so again, the strike rate of betting on a team of golfers is 40% or more. So, and you're risking 3 to 4% per tournament, and there's 1 or 2 tournaments per week. So that should give people an idea of the risk. I'd say that seems quite low risk to me. But
I got another good way of looking at it. Actually, say if we were running an Asian handicap service, right, and all the bets were kind of even money, right? If you came to me and said, Ian, how many points bank should I have to do this? I'd say around 30. And you say level stake 1 point, something around that, 25 or 30. And that's kind of the same thing as what we're doing on the other side of it. It's like, if you had £1,000 bank and you were betting on Asian handicaps, you'd probably be having, whatever, 25 divided by 1,000, whatever that is, That would be your bet per bet, or stake per bet.
So it is a relatively, in point terms, it's relatively low. Yeah, I'd say exactly. Like 30-point bank is pretty low. Yeah,
it's a similar type
especially
thing,
for golf. Some golf services. And so BetChat Josh has just put in the chat, just to cover the WeBet YouBet results. Ian has been providing the golf bets on there since March 27th this year, and is currently showing an overall profit of 117.81 units. So your golf bet's doing really well for WeBet YouBet. If anyone's got any other questions, if you just want to stick them in the chat, because I have one more question for you, Ian, which is about tournaments.
Yeah.
I'm wondering two things. One is how your strategy fares in tournaments. I mean, it seems like it revolves around tournaments, but are there bigger golf tournaments where it does better? Are there certain kinds of tournaments where it does better, or is it?
It's not an easy question to answer, really, because people will say that the majors are probably the toughest to beat because, again, they're probably the most efficient market, But I haven't really gone that deep down in terms of particular tournaments or the majors versus kind of some of the more miniature ones. But I do know from my each way service that there has been, over the years, we've definitely gotten prices where, and they've won where we've got a kind of a rick of a price. Like, so overall, you would say that the week events, the model will do better, So I think it's fairly small, And the reality is, like, when you're betting on the Betfair Exchange, you're going to be betting into the toughest market. So it's just the challenge you have to take on,
Yeah, because I think that's worth pointing out as well, because it's much harder to get an edge on Betfair, and I guess that's where the volume comes in. Maybe, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people, when you make the move from, say people start off nowadays, the journey is they do match betting, they might do a bit of arbing, bad each ways, build the bank roll up, get a couple of accounts, follow a couple of tipsters, get best odds guaranteed. It's easy at the start. So eventually, when you got to come onto the exchange, you're making big margins at the start. And then when you come onto the exchange, you have to accept that, all right, well, we're in the Premier League of betting now, like, so the margins are going to come down. The edges are smaller. You have to be ruthlessly good with your pricing and what you're doing, because you get swallowed up pretty quickly. And you have to just generate more volume because your margins are lower. So there's a famous saying there. What is it? ROI for sure, ROC for dough. Like, so return on ROI is great for the paper. I made 50%, but how much money did you actually make? Return on capital shows that you're making your money work for you. You can make more at lower margins. So turnover is key for sure.
Okay, yeah, because I think it's just it's impressive that you're able to make it work on Betfair and at that scale as well, and over those time frames. So the Open Championship is this weekend, is that right?
It's next week, yeah.
Next week. Do you have you have thoughts about it? Do you have, or do you not think about it until you sit down and start pricing stuff out?
Yeah, because you see that's the thing. There's tournaments on this week, so you're just focused on. It's week to week. Your brain is once Monday comes, you're straight into it. Then I know that we'd end up backing a lot of Americans anyway. That's for sure, because the market generally underrates them.
Right. Okay.
That would be my first inkling. Okay. McIlroy won there the last time he was playing there, so he's going to be he's going to definitely go off favourite,
But it's a good week for the service to start in, really, isn't it? I'd say.
Yeah, well, I mean, all eyes will be on golf. This is kind of the peak golf season, so people are kind of pulling out the clubs from the back of the car they haven't seen in 12 months. So
yeah, my mate's literally doing that.
Yeah. So this is the time for it.
So we've got a couple more. Yeah, so Malcolm Barber says you have to believe in any system and give it a chance, which is good advice.
Just as he said that there, that's so true, right? Because the thing people go, a lot of the long run is bandied around in the gambling industry a lot. It's the long run. We think about the long run, but it really is true, right? But like the long run in golf is a long time. It's probably 50, 60 years to really, you know what I mean? We're all going to be either hopefully still here, but like it's a kind of a theoretical thing, for golf. There's just not enough events. Do you know what I mean? It's different to racing and football and stuff, where it's stuff on every day, all the time, or tennis. With golf, you kind of have to believe in what you're doing, and just follow, just trust the process.
Yeah, I guess your approach is kind of helps that a bit though, because you've got much higher frequency, I guess, because of or much higher volume. Maybe is a better way of putting it.
I'm doing my best for people really to make it as less bumpy a ride as that's feasible, without.
Yeah.
There are some realities we're just going to have to accept,
Yeah. Paul's asked, what's the? He said SR. I'm guessing is strike rate. So do you know what the strike rate is for the 70 ball and 3 ball bets?
Well, the average price for match bets is going to be in around 10 to 11 or so. So it's going to be 55%ish. The average price for 3 balls is going to be around 7 to 4. So it's going to be, 37, 38%. So it's a bit lower.
But kind of in the same ballpark.
It's all the same ballpark. Yeah. All same area of betting, I mean, you're going to get bad days betting 3 balls. You're going to get good days. Again, it's just ignore the bad days really and just keep going.
Yeah, sure. I think that might be it for questions in the chat. Is there anything you want to finish on? Like maybe I don't know. What would be like the most important thing you've learned about betting in your sort of career and everything, your time? Put you on the spot now.
Yeah,
or just one thing.
You need 2 things really. You need a robust process that you have the data on it. You have to follow it and refine it. But that's the kind of analytical side of it. But from a psychological point of view, you need to be able to endure. It's a horrible job, really. There's much easier. If you keep doing it,
because you're not having to deal with the emotion of it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. And you go through peaks and troughs with it too, where you're it takes over your life completely, and then you kind of back away from it, go back into it. And everyone your stage in life you are as well. So it is a journey, and you have to be prepared for it.
But I guess I think that's part of probably what builds your expertise is when it consumes your life, even maybe it's not great for other parts of your life.
Yeah,
those periods, if you're living and breathing it, that's how you're able to price up markets.
Exactly.
So well, so.
You have to just kind of, I mean, you do need a passion for it, like, because it's not the most. There's much more exciting jobs out there. Like, it's just numbers and So the inner geek.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Ian. If anybody has, I'm going to talk people through the details of the service in a minute. If anyone's interested in joining, if anyone has any more questions for Ian, you can email us at clients@thebetchat.com, and we'll forward them to Ian and get him to reply. So if if you think of something, just ping us an email. Thank you again, Ian, for taking the time out of your evening to answer questions and stuff.
No worries. All the best now.
And say goodbye to you for now.
Cheers.
And then right, so thank you everyone who took part in the Q&A. Then it was a good mix of questions, and hopefully Ian's answers gave you a good idea of his approach and what his new service with BetChat would entail. So if you're still watching, you might be interested in becoming a member of Plus EV Golf Pro. We covered most of the details, I think, in how it works in the Q&A, so you may just want to go ahead and join us right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate a membership link, and you should see that around the webinar window now. Let me know if you can't. So if you're still on the fence, over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the full details of membership. I'm going to walk you through exactly what you get with your membership, go over the recommended starting bank sizes. We kind of touched on that a bit in the Q&A, but I'll do it in depth. And we'll lay out the two pricing options for membership, which do depend on your starting bank size. So let's start with exactly what you get with your membership. Membership consists of two benefits, the bets and the bot. So we'll start with the bets. So to remind you, Ian's approach has made an impressive 29% ROI over 2 years. His approach focuses on the winner market, but as we talked about, he'll also be including two more kinds of bets, 70-hole match bets and 3-ball bets, which could help smooth out variance and boost profits a bit higher. You can expect a high volume of bets. That's because, as we've talked about, we're betting on teams of golfers. This does mean that when you look at the strike rate of individual bets, it's very low. But when you look at the strike rate of your team as a whole, as we talked about, it's above 40%. So you'll often find you have one or more golfers in the final stages of the tournament, which can make a golf tournament more exciting to watch. And of course, lots of winners. For example, over a 3-month period, Ian's approach picked these 13 winners that you can see there. In fact, many times Ian's had bets on the final 2 golfers in a tournament. So when that happens, you've got a guaranteed win either way. And as you've seen, even with the losers, the odds mean you're profitable over the long term. The bets aren't delivered by email like with other BetChat services because, as we talked about, it's all automated. Instead, if you want to view the bets, you simply log into your Betfair account or into the bot's interface to see what bets the bot has been placing on Ian's instruction. The bets will also be posted in a one-way Telegram channel if you'd like to follow them there too. Telegram is just an app you can get on your phone, a messaging app. And that's really it on the bets front. It's pretty nice and pretty simple. So that brings us to the second benefit of membership, which is the bot. When you join EV Plus Golf Pro, you'll receive an onboarding email that will show you step-by-step how to set up the bot on your Betfair account. This is a very simple, very quick process, and pretty much consists of registering with the Plus EV Golf Pro service and then linking the bot to your Betfair account, and it should take a couple of minutes. Of course, that does mean you'll need a Betfair account, which I imagine most people watching this will already have. But if you don't worry, as we'll show you how to quickly and easily set one of those up too. By the way, you can still place other bets using the same Betfair account and even use other bots with that account. You just need to make sure there is enough money for the Plus EV Golf Pro bot to place its bets, otherwise it will stop doing so. So what do you need to do after you set up the bot and you've deposited some money? As we've discussed, nothing. You just set it up, make sure it has enough capital to put on the bets. Ian will be sending it, and that's it. You can just kick back and enjoy the profits. You don't need to fiddle with complicated sort of bet parameters, settings, or anything like that. As I say, you can log into the bot software or just look on Betfair to view all active and past bets whenever you like. You can think of this as like a full, always up-to-date kind of track record, and you can dive in and see exactly what Ian's doing. You can also turn the bot on and off whenever you like as well. Obviously, that could mean you'd miss out on some profits, but the option is there if you need it. Okay, so that's covered exactly what you get as a Plus EV Golf Pro member. How about the recommended starting bank size? So we talked about this in the Q&A, but let me just break it down for you, because there are several fixed starting bank options with the bot. £500, £1,000, £2,000, and so on, at £1,000 intervals up to £8,000. But whichever you pick, you won't usually risk more than 4% of your bank on each tournament, as Ian explained during the Q&A. Remember, even though there's a low strike rate across individual bets, because Ian is betting on teams of golfers, the strike rate of someone on your team winning a tournament is more than 40%, and the odds work out at about 6-4 or 1-1 on every tournament. So as an example, let's say you've opted for the £1,000 starting bank. The bot might bet £40, which is 4% of your bank, across say 30 golfers in a tournament. If you haven't got the winner on your team, you'll be down £40 across all the golfers, so 4% of your bank. And if you do have the winner on your team, you'll be up £40 to £60. Again, the bot won't usually risk more than 4% of your bank on each tournament. And considering you'll only usually be betting on 1 or 2 tournaments per week, that should mean your bank is kept nice and safe. Right, so what is the price of membership? There's 2 membership options. For starting banks below £2,000, there's monthly membership at £30 per month. Or if you pick a starting bank size of more than £2,000, it's a profit share that works like this. When your bank increases by 15%, you pay 33% of that profit. So say your bank went from 2,000 to 2,000. My example is wrong. So basically, every time your bank increases 15%, you'll pay 33% of the profit. If that's slightly confusing, drop us an email at clients@thebetchat.com and we'll break it down for you nice and simple. But basically, if your bank is lower than £2,000, its membership is £30 per month. If it's above £2,000, it's a profit share. So you can kind of decide what feels better for you. For both membership types, there's also a small annual maintenance fee for the bot of £48 per year, which will be paid after your first 30 days of membership. Now, here's the great thing about both membership options. If you act before midnight on Thursday, the 20th of July, whichever membership option you pick, you'll pay just £1 for your first month of membership. And if you're using a bigger bank of £2,000 or more, so you're profit sharing, you won't pay a profit share on any of your profits in those first 30 days either. That's a special intro deal for the launch of Plus EV Golf Pro. And Ian is willing to put his money where his mouth is to show new members just how good this approach can be. Because of this deal, there's no money back guarantee period. But I'd say 30 days of Ian's pro level golf bets for £1 more than makes up for that. Of course, you still get access to BetChat's responsive support team. Should you need any help with your membership, you can just contact them via email. As I say, that deal, £1 for your first month of membership, is only running until midnight on Thursday, the 20th of July next week. You could wait until then, or you could grab that £1 deal right now. That way, you'll get to take advantage of Ian's bets for the Open Championship, which starts on July 16th. That's this Sunday. So that's it. I hope I've given you enough information to make a decision about membership. I will stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions anyone has. Thank you again to Ian for taking the time out to answer everyone's questions this evening, and thank you for everyone who attended and asked your questions. So there is a slight lag in the chat, so if you have a question about membership, you can just drop a question in the chat, and I'll stick around for a few minutes and answer it. If you think of a question later on, you can email us at clients@thebetchat.com, and if it's a question Ian needs to answer, we can forward it to him, and you can get a response from him. But yeah, I'll just stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. Again, there's a slight lag in the chat of about 10 seconds, I think. And no worries if there's no questions. Bob asks, can you move up the bank ladder? Yeah, you can. And if you move, so you could start out with one of the smaller bank sizes and then move up. I'm not sure if the process, you would need to contact BetChat to be able to do that, or if you can just deposit more money. I've got a feeling you might need to contact support, but you can definitely move up the ladder, because we've done that in similar services where we've used bots. And if you moved up, there you go. Yeah, Josh said just email us and they will sort it out for you. And that's the same if you were on the monthly membership option, you'd be able to move up into the profit share, and vice versa, I guess, as well. I'll stick around for a few more minutes. But yeah, I think the £1 deal for 30 days is a really good way to test this service out, because it's a super low barrier to entry. Does the bot place the bets? Asked Basil. Yes. So the bot will place all of the bets for you. So it's literally just a case of taking about half an hour at most to set it up. The whole process of setting it up, and then that's it, and depositing the money, and then that's it, and the bot will just place all the bets for you. So it's a very low stress, hands-off way to approach golf betting. And it also means you can on the emotional side, you can kind of switch off and just let it get on with it if you like as well. Obviously, you can watch the golf games if you're into that. So Peter asks, will the extra volume of bets being placed result in a higher proportion of bets being unmatched, and are these cancelled at the offer kept in play? That's a bit, I don't know that. We'd need to ask Ian that question, Peter. So if you want to email that question to clients@thebetchat.com, I'll stick that in the chat. Then Ian will be able to answer that for you. I'm just going to put the email address in the... So Malcolm, if Malcolm sent me a message asking he would like, if he he's asking about upgrading to a bigger bank size as well. So Malcolm, if you email clients@thebetchat.com, people can tell you that process. The support team can walk you through that process. Oh, there we go. Josh has answered your question, Peter. Might have to get Josh on one of these Q&As one day. So Brian's asked, if you opt for the £1 trial, would there be any recurring fees at the end of the month or not? I think the answer to that is no, because the money for the maintenance fee for the bot comes out on on day 30 after the trial. And Miles has chipped in saying, there's plenty of liquidity in the WIM market, especially as Ian concentrates on the main tournaments of the week. Sorry. As we said, there's probably like one or two each week. So I think that's basically saying not to worry about the bot not getting bets matched. It should be okay. Because the liquidity of the markets it's betting on is high. No worries, Malcolm. Yeah, any questions you have for Ian or questions in general that we don't answer now, just drop an email to clients@thebetchat.com. I'll stick around for one more minute and then we'll call it a night. And thank you again for everyone taking part this evening. But also it's next Thursday at midnight is the when that £1 offer comes offline. So it gives you a bit of time to think about it as well if you need to. So BetChat Josh has just laid out fee stuff, so I'll just reiterate that. The £48 fee would be taken automatically annually, but you can cancel at any time. If you select the £30 monthly option, then that would be a recurring fee. No other fees if you're on the profit share until you make 15% net profit. And then I think the profit share is 33%. So I think that might be it for questions. So thank you again for everyone that's taken part in the Q&A tonight. That offer, the £1 offer, will be on till midnight, Thursday, 20th of July. So you're interested, we're going to send a replay of the event out tomorrow, and we'll email details of the offer to you as well. So you don't need to worry about saving the link from this webinar or anything. So thank you again, and we'll just say good night. Oh, got one more. Yeah, so Basil, will there be a link to join? There's a link. There should be a link right now around the webinar window, around the chat box. But we'll be sending an email out in the next few hours with the details of that £1 membership deal. So you just keep an eye on your email inbox. There you go. And Josh has just stuck the link in the chat as well. Right, that's it. Thank you again for everybody who's taken part in the Q&A, and I'm going to say good night, and we'll see you on the next one we do.